2, 1. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Burning Hits Fantasy Football. I'm Burns and I'm here with Hinty, and we're going to go over our senior season predictions for this upcoming year. Not so much fantasy, but I guess it has a little bit of impact on that. But we're going to go division by division. We're going to go into the playoffs after that, and we'll set our predictions for what we want or what we think will happen this year. So we're going to start it off with the AFC East, and we're going to go down the conference in the AFC East. And I think this one's a little bit easy, but what do you think about each team here? And do you see anyone else besides the Bills making an impact or a push for the playoffs?
So this one shocked me. I actually had New England winning the division.
Wow, okay.
I wasn't a fan after I finished it. I went back and I looked at all the games for both teams, and I couldn't give the Bills another win. I actually have it at 11-6 and New England having the tiebreaker. So it wasn't they win the division outright or anything. I have the Bills kind of underperforming this year.
Yeah, I think it really starts with the early schedule for both teams. I had the Patriots really kind of struggling the first 4 or 5 games, then making a huge run and getting to 8-3 again, and I have them falling apart a little bit. And they're around 500. I think I have the Patriots just around that wild card berth. I think I have them at the 7 seed. And then Buffalo I have starting off really quick, but they have a really tough schedule to start. It's the Rams. They have the Chiefs week 5, but it's Bengals. It's not an easy schedule for them.
In there too.
Ravens in them with them too, yeah. It's definitely a difficult schedule. It's whether you think they're going to pop up hot, and I had them starting 6-1 or something and just dominating, and then I think I had them as the top record. I think I had them at 13-4 or something like that. So, 2 games for the Patriots and 2 games for the Bills, we would have the same record. So it's really not that funky. My question for you is, I was surprised by how do you have Miami doing?
I had Miami going 7-10.
Okay. I had them not doing very well, 5 wins. It just sort of came in. They have a kind of a difficult schedule, I thought. And then I just really didn't have them winning many games in the division. I think I had them winning 1 or 2 games, maybe a New England game, and then a split with the Jets.
I think that's probably about the difference for us, because I have them going 3-3 in the division. So.
Yeah. I think I have the Jets with 4 or 5 wins. I think they're about even, the Jets and the Dolphins, which is
I have the Jets going 2-15.
Yeah,
they're my team that I think is going to do the worst. And I mean, I've made my thoughts very known. But Zach Wilson's not the answer. I don't like the Jets. I don't think the Jets are going to go in the right direction.
I think that their offense stinks, but I think their defense is going to make a big leap. So that's sort of where I stand with the Jets. I think if they get 7 wins, that'd be a great season for the Jets. But it just keeps looking like it's going to get worse and worse, and it looks like Wilson won't be ready by week 1. So going to be a tough start. Not that they're going to win that many games regardless, but yeah. So we're looking at only 2 contenders. It looks like it's going to sound about the same as last year.
Yeah.
Competitive Patriots, the Dolphins maybe getting in the mix, but first year Mike McDaniels. Or is it Mike McDaniel? That's the name?
I honestly can't remember, because there's a Mike McDaniels and a Mike McDaniel.
Okay, whatever. You know the guy from the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, AFC North. This one was funky. I had a lot. I did predictions twice, and I had a lot of variance with each one. So who'd you sort of have? Did you have anyone being bad, I guess?
I thought it was interesting whenever I went through and I had the Bengals finishing last.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just think coming off the Super Bowl, I don't believe in Zach Taylor as a head coach. And it just, whenever I went through everything, I just had them losing a lot of games where I was like, this is close, but I'm going to go the other way. And then I had the Ravens winning the division with the best record in the AFC.
Yeah, I had Ravens in my first thing with the best record in the NFC, and I think I had the second in the second go around. I had the Bengals sort of floating between 9 and 11 wins for each prediction, and I had them really starting off slow. People were saying, like, oh, their schedule's easy, and I'm going through this, and I'm like, their schedule's not easy at all. It's not super hard, but it's definitely not easy. I actually had the Steelers starting off and getting like a couple good wins. I'm actually like going through everything. I was surprised by how well I had the Steelers going, and I kind of had the Browns. I had to like kind of give them wins a little bit. It's sort of still hard with the Deshaun Watson. Is he going to just be 6 games? But at one point, I think I had like 4 and 9. But I think I had them around 7 or 8 wins, just because. But their team, like, if it's Brissett all year, that's a tough division. I don't see them being that good.
No, I mean, I actually had the Steelers and the Browns both go 8 and 9, but I made my projection based on Watson only missing the first 6. If I had Watson out for that second, like for the rest of those games, I mean, I think I had them like 1 and 5 without Watson, and then after that they finish like 7 and 4. So.
Yeah, it was like the early season schedule. I think they start with the Panthers, and they have like another pretty easy game too. But I was still like, I don't know if they could actually win that one like right off the bat. It's sort of a funky play with them because they're good, but they're not that good, Yeah. And Brissett's
they just lost their center for the season. It sounds like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, losing anything in the O line would be brutal because that's pretty much their run game strength. So I guess you're sort of having the Ravens and then pretty much sort of a slosh in the middle, right?
Yeah, I have it Ravens 13 and 4, and then 8 and 9, 8 and 9, and actually 6 and 11. But I mean, the Bengals are that bottom team, and I could easily see them popping up and stealing a few extra wins. I just don't see anyone else making the playoffs in that division.
Yeah, really what I have is the Ravens at top, the Bengals in a slosh sort of around 500. I'm just giving more of the Bengals the benefit of the doubt after that run last year. And then the the Browns, I feel like, their cap is probably like 9 wins. Even if Watson does come back and plays really well, even if he does come back at only 6 games, there's no guarantee that he's going to be great right off the bat, He hasn't played for a really long time, and this is a brand new team.
I will say before we leave that, the Bengals going 6-11 is the scariest thing out of everything that I have projected.
Yeah, 6-11 seems difficult. I feel like at least 7 or 8 wins.
I don't like this. I don't feel confident with this, but that is definitely the one that I feel the scariest with.
Yeah, injuries though, you never know with that stuff. If Burrow misses 4 or 5 games, it could definitely happen. AFC South. This is a funky division, and it feels like everyone's only choosing between 2 teams. Who'd you have coming out of the AFC South?
I had the Colts coming out of the AFC South. I had the Titans right there. I think they lost it by like a game. And I think this year they'll win the division rather because, Matt Ryan's not going to lose to a horrible Jacksonville Jaguars team in the last week of the season.
That was sort of where there's always times where I'm like going through this and I'm like, okay, these terrible teams aren't going to all go like 2 or 3 wins. They're going to get some upsets. And a lot of times it's like the Titans and the Colts are the teams that can get upset, but I feel like it really came down to the Colts. I don't see them getting upset as much just because of having like a better, stronger quarterback and veteran leadership. Yeah. So that's sort of where it came down to. And the Titans are just they're not a sexy pick, I guess, and it was like hard to believe they did so well last year. And I think I have the Texans the worst team in the league this year. I think I have them at the first pick. I think I had them 3 wins in the first one. I think I'll have them 1 win this time, which I don't think it'll happen. I think they'll get probably 2 or 3 wins at least. And I think I had the Jaguars somewhere around 5 or 6 wins maybe. And then the Titans around 500. And I think I had the Colts 10, maybe 11 wins. I don't think anything above 11 wins,
Yeah, nope, that's exactly where I have everyone. I mean, I have the Jaguars and the Texans both having 3 wins, and then Titans at 500 and Colts at 10 and 7. So
it feels like a really boring division. It's about time that hopefully it gets a little bit more interesting because it's been like this for years outside like the Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and I think it'll probably stay this way. I don't see the Texans or Jacksonville making any leaps forward in the near future.
Yeah, maybe 3 years. Definitely, I don't see it this year. Maybe 6 or 7 wins if Jacksonville really plays well. Okay, the AFC West is a funky one. I had like it really fluctuating a lot. What do you think about this year?
I have the Raiders as the only team that does not make the playoffs, and I had the Raiders with 10 wins.
Whoa.
So I have 12-5, 11-6, 11-6, 10-7, and I have the Broncos winning the division.
Yeah, so I had the Raiders actually starting off like 3-1 or 4-1 or something like that, and winning like a lot of upset wins. I just feel like it's kind of a funky team there. I think I had them about 8 wins, and then maybe even 7 wins, maybe less than that. But then I had the Chiefs sort of around that 11 spot, and then the Chargers and Broncos around 9 and 10 and sort of fighting for a wild card spot. It's just it's so much cannibalism, and then none of them have really that easy outside of division schedules. They all have like a lot of like pretty tough games. I think they do play the NFC East, so there is like a little bit of like, okay, they're gonna win this one.
They play the NFC West, I'm pretty sure, this year.
Okay, well I know there's sometimes you play like the team that was rated like one team out of the NFC East.
Okay.
I think they do have one of those, but I that would make sense. NFC West. That's why I'm like, man, they're like really none of them are really like pulling away here. It's hard for me to not bet on the Chiefs, just because the Chargers, and they always seem to screw it up. And then the Broncos, you never know. I feel like sometimes I was like really, really like they went on a streak and then they were losing a lot. It's tough to sort of gauge where they're going to be at, and they'll be better, but I feel like if they were a different division, they'd be an easy, top 4 division winner. But it's just a really difficult division.
Yeah, when I went through the first time, I had the Chiefs missing the playoffs, and I was like, I gotta tweak this. There's no way the Chiefs don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's hard. It could happen, but it's just hard to believe. Too many years in a row, and they actually played their starters. You see the preseason game; they played Kelsey and Mahomes. Yeah. It's pretty wild. All right, and we'll go back at the end and go over the AFC and the playoffs. But now we're going to go right back to the top to another, probably the last. There's a couple. There's only one really 2 interesting divisions in the NFC, but the AFC East is kind of, I don't know. What do you think about the AFC East? I feel like there's 2 teams that are vying for it. What do you think about who's going to pull it out?
Yeah, I mean, I have both of the top 2 teams in the NFC East making it. I have the Eagles winning the division, though.
Yeah. I have the Eagles as well. I have the Cowboys. I don't think I have the Cowboys making the playoffs, but there are, I think, 9 and 8 or something like that. And the Commanders I sort of had starting off terrible, making a run, and almost looking like they're gonna. I think they're in division lead at least 1 point, and then they just fell right off, and the Giants sort of got close to them. I had the Giants starting horribly and then sort of picking it up later. I thought their schedule got a lot easier near the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I have both of the. I have it 13-4 and 12-5 for the Eagles, and then I have 4-13 for the other 2. I really don't have any faith in Daniel Jones this year. That defense is a mess. That wide receiver room for the Giants is just young and talented, but messy, and I don't know. I don't see the Giants being able to pull off a lot of games this year.
Yeah.
And then honestly, like Carson Wentz couldn't get the Colts to the playoffs last year, and I feel like the Colts have a better roster outside of quarterback than the Commanders do. And I just think that those close games you're not going to have, because you're not going to have Jonathan Taylor just absolutely dominate the Buffalo Bills. Like Antonio Gibson's not going off for that many yards, so
makes sense. I have them both at 6-11. I think the Giants and the Commanders, and then I have the Eagles. I think around 10 wins, and then the Cowboys around 9. Not that I feel like there's a lot of hype for the Eagles, and I get it. But like it still reminds me of like last year. They were really good against bad teams, but once they played anyone good, they just got smoked. And maybe it gets better this year. but like I still don't really have like a ton of confidence in Jalen Hurts and like the whole. I mean, we'll see with A.J. Brown. Maybe it makes a big difference, but the Titans didn't really have a dynamic offense with A.J. Brown either. But, I mean, we'll see. It's a weak NFC. It's the NFC North. There is a lot of, like, optimism for the Lions and the Vikings, not so much for the Bears. And then there's some question marks with the Packers. Who'd you sort of have going? Did you have anyone beating the Packers, or are they still on top?
I have the Packers go 6-0 in the division and finish 14-3 and getting the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Wow, 15-1 or wait, 14 and what?
14-3.
14-3. Okay.
With the number 1 overall seed. I don't like it. I hate the Packers. But I just when I went through, I was like, it's Aaron Rodgers. Like.
I did not have them being that good. I think I had them once with 12 wins, and then the other time with 11. I've had the Vikings actually pulling out the division. I just feel like, I don't know, they've been so close for so long and such a 500, and they blow so many games. And I feel like having a new coach and a offensive-minded team that, like, literally they stack their offense, and then they're like, oh, we're not going to play good offense. We're going to play strong defense and be like a defensive-minded team. I feel like they're going to win like a lot of games. I think I had the Vikings starting like 6-1. I think like it was just their schedule's not too difficult. The Lions I had somewhere floating around 500. They were really up and down. I think they were like 4-7 at one point, and then won the last couple of games. The Bears I actually had I think they got their first 2 wins in the first 6 games, and then it was just tough to pick the Bears. But they had like a early game against Houston that they pulled out, and they pulled out like Falcons maybe, but. Yeah, they're not going anywhere really, but I feel like the Packers, I'm not that confident in the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, I had the Vikings missing the playoffs, but that was after I went and like tweaked around a few games here and there. But like at one point they were in the playoffs. I mean, I have them getting that 10-win mark, but just missing the playoffs.
Yeah, well, you'll be surprised, I think, when you see, I mean, you may be taking a glimpse at it, but...
And I also have the Lions going 7-10 this year, so I think they're going to.
I think I had them like 8-9 or 9-8, so they don't have that difficult of a schedule. Yeah, well, I think I had them pulling out games again. I had like I don't think I had anyone really dominate that division. It was like a lot of cannibalism, except for the Bears. Sorry to say, but now we're going to the NFC South. Do you have anyone making the playoffs? Do you have the Saints making a push? I mean, the Bucs are probably the clear winner here.
Yeah, I have the Bucs winning it. I have the Saints missing out also at that 10-win mark. And I thought it was crazy when I went through. I think I had them starting off like 6-1 or 7-1.
Yeah,
and then just falling apart in the back half because their schedule it flipped.
Yeah, I had them going 5-1, I think, because I had them beating the Buccaneers early, and then they had a lot of simple games, and I was just like, man, they're going, and then I was like, oh, they're not this good, so it was like popping around, so I had them somewhere around 500.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, like I have both the Buccaneers and the Saints going 5-1, and that's because their losses like beating each other. I don't see Carolina this year getting a win against one of them, and it's definitely not the Falcons. It's just I have no faith in Matt Rule and that offense down in Carolina, and I feel bad for Baker. Matt Rule has shown me that he's just not a good coach, and I'm going to believe him.
Yeah, the preseason game, he gave the most reps to P.J. Walker, who's probably going to get cut. So we'll see. Darnold, Mayfield, no. Not Matt Corral, no. P.J. Walker. So I had, I think that the Bears, not the Bears, the Panthers around like 6 wins. So like they did something, but they did pretty well early on, but then it was just like, psh, and they get, I think that maybe I gave them a win against the Saints once, but they got smoked by there's no way I'm giving them a win against the Bucs. Yeah, it just feels like 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe the Falcons, if they, surprise, they may be able to get above the Panthers. NFC West. So this is the other thing. I have a question. Did you have the Seahawks with anything respectable?
3-14.
Okay, I think I had them at 4 or 5 wins. I gave them a couple wins, I think, against
They're
the
gonna be
Cardinals.
so bad this year.
Yeah, it was just like, oh man. Really thinking about it. They looked okay in preseason, but it's the preseason. So I was like, okay. So who'd you have with those top 3? Do you have the Cardinals making it at all, or was it just the Rams and the Niners?
I actually had all 3 of them making it after I went back and like tweaked around some games in the season. But my first time through, I actually had the Rams missing the playoffs, which is why I went back and tweaked it around, and the Vikings and the Saints both ended up missing because I just was tweaking around, and I was just like, I can't be like the Super Bowl winners that brought back basically their entire offense. They're not going to do it this year. So I tweaked it around, got them in the playoffs, but I did have the 49ers winning the division.
Yeah, I think the Rams only missed the playoffs once under McVay, and I think they went 9-7. So it's hard. I think at one point in my first thing, they were like 4-7 early on. And I was like, wait a second, do I have them like losing to like the Seahawks and the Cardinals? And I flipped some ones because there's always that weird thing that like certain teams are like undefeated against other teams in the NFC West, and it's like kind of funky. Like the Niners beat the Rams and the Cardinals beat the Niners, so it was like some funkiness. I think I had the Niners winning in one and then the Rams winning in the other, and they were really close, and I think I had the Cardinals sort of sneaking in at 9-8. I don't really see them doing a ton, but they had a very up and down year from what I remember, and it was like who's going to win what games in the division. I feel like the division games just really are going to determine pretty much everything with these teams. Because they're playing the AFC West too, so it's not fun. All right, do you have your playoff thing ready? I can show mine first, but I'll share
I have
screen
mine up
after.
and I'm looking at it. So
Okay, just wanted to make sure you're ready to share it when you can. All right, so I'm going to pull out mine. I'm going to hide. I hope you probably already saw it. But going through mine, I had the Bills at 14-3, the Patriots at 9-8 with the 7 seed, and then we have some whatever happened in the bottom half. And then I have the Ravens at 13-4, the Bengals at 10-7, and then both these guys at 9-8. So I guess I gave the Browns a couple wins at the end. Chiefs at 13-4, so I'm surprised I had them with that many wins. Chargers at 10-7. Broncos at 9-8, and then Raiders at 7-10. I guess the Raiders 9-8, and then I like my Jaguars 7-10. You know, like that. And then Texans at 1-16. Over to the NFC, I have my top seed as the Bucks. Surprised the Saints only at 7-10. 6 wins for the Panthers, 3 for the Falcons, and then I have my Vikings at the 2 seed at 12-5. I guess they won the tiebreaker against the Packers. Lions at 9-8 and missing the playoffs. That's a surprise. Bears at the low bottom. Rams at 12-5, winning a tiebreaker with the Cardinals at 9-8. 5 wins for the Seahawks. I'm surprised. And then we have I think I already went through this pretty much, but sort of that weird NFC East team. Do you want me to go through just my playoffs and we'll just go through you?
Yeah, let's just look at your playoffs.
All right. So first 2 rounds I'll just show. I have the Chargers beating out the Colts and the Chiefs getting their revenge over the Bengals to get into the wild card round. And then we have, or I guess it's the divisional round now. And then the wild card round, I have the Niners beating the Eagles. I just can't see the Eagles beating the Niners. I know it's Trey Lance. And my other thing, I think I had the Niners playing the Rams, and I had the Rams beating them just because I don't see Trey Lance be able to get that far in the playoffs. Just first playoffs, it's a little scary. Rams Packers, that was a really tough one to choose, but I ended up picking the Rams. I'm not that high on the Packers this year. But I feel like it's actually a benefit for Rodgers to be in LA potentially. And then we have our second round. The Bills beating the Chargers, the Ravens beating the Chiefs, the Bucks beating the Niners. I just feel like the Bucks are going to have like a sort of a cakewalk this year. And then I almost picked the Vikings over the Rams, but I was like, there's no freaking way McVay's going to let his number 2 beat him out. And then I had the Bucks Rams. I had the Bucks beating them this year after losing it last year. And then the Ravens and Bucks and Ravens and Bills. I really wanted to give it to the Ravens, but I just really can't see the Ravens being the Bills just in the playoffs with the throwing of Josh Allen. So
yeah,
Bills
and with that game, the way that you have it being in Buffalo too.
Yeah, I mean, just having that home field. I don't think Josh Allen's really affected by cold anyway. And then Bills, Bucks. I just have the Bills winning. I couldn't give the Bucks the win. All right, so I'm gonna stop. Oh, what's up?
I have to say, whenever I filled out my original bracket for this, like I did this like all the way back in like April just to kind of see what my thoughts were. This was the exact Super Bowl I had, and I had the Bills winning whenever I did it back in April.
I think this is a very popular pick for a lot of people. Bucks just have a lot of they just don't really have a difficult schedule. It's easy for them to get a good seed, and then the Bills are sort of the favorite this year after how they looked last year. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and you can share whenever you want. I'm gonna check on YouTube real quick. All right.
All right. I need you to enable.
It should be good now, I think.
All right.
Oh. Bills is the 7th seed is wild to see.
So, Ravens 13-4 getting there, and then I had the AFC West basically dominating, taking up a ton of playoff spots. And as I said, that 7th seed's at 11-6, so that's not like I'm putting them at 7 with not a good season. 11-6 is a respectable season. I just had them drop.
But you have the Patriots. I guess who the Bills lose the second one to is the question, because I just can't see.
I had them losing a game to the Dolphins.
Okay, well, I can't see the Patriots ever beating the Bills. Is my sort of after seeing last year. But I guess they did lose.
The Patriots took a game last year.
But it was like a win psycho game. The Army.
I'm just saying,
yeah.
But those games happen. So I mean,
yeah, it's possible.
But yeah, so basically, first round had the Colts Chiefs. I took the Chiefs in that, even with it being at Indianapolis. I just don't see Patrick Mahomes playoffs. It's just a different story.
Yeah, it's probably better for him to be in the dome anyway.
Yeah, and then I can honestly say I've seen the game where the Chargers go across the country and play at New England, and it doesn't end well ever. Mm-hmm. And then I had Buffalo beating Denver, which was my number 2 seed, because, as I said, I still really like the Bills. I just had them dropping a lot of those games where it was the Bills versus the Ravens and just a few games here and there. And then I had the Ravens beating the Bills, which you had that exact same game, but you took the Bills, who are at home for that one. Mm-hmm. Then I took the Patriots over the Chiefs, with that being a home game for the Patriots, which makes me sick. I really went back and forth on that. And then if it does end up being that game, I don't see how the Ravens don't win that and get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Then for the NFC, as you can see, I have the Seahawks doing very poorly. I gave the Bears an extra 3 wins compared to you. Mm-hmm. That might just be a little bit of biasy, but I don't think that we're going to be that bad. And then, so get to the playoffs. I have the Niners beating Dallas, which I think was an actual playoff game last year also.
Yeah, same exact thing, I think. Or it was flipped.
Yeah,
Niners with the 5 seed.
At Dallas.
Yeah.
And then I have the Rams actually beating the Buccaneers, but you had that exact same game but went the other way.
I like that.
I think it's one of those things that you're getting to the point in Brady's career where you get you're 45, you just got done playing 18 weeks of a regular season, or I guess 17 with 1 bye week, and then you have to go right to playing the playoff game, and I think you're dead.
His O-line's already taking hits right now. I think Worf's got hurt, and Jensen's definitely out, at least until the playoffs. So
And then I took the Eagles over the Cardinals because I mean, I really think the Eagles are going to be really good this year, and the
I think
Cardinals
they
are
could
one
beat
of
the
those teams
Cardinals.
that I feel like they just weirdly disappoint at the times that they need to perform.
Yeah.
And then so I had Packers Rams. I took the Packers in that. There's not a doubt in my mind that the Packers would win that game.
In Green Bay, yeah.
Yeah, in Green Bay. And then Eagles 49ers. I think
I like
you
the
had this
Eagles
exact
pick.
same game, and I think you took the Eagles also. And it's just, I don't know. I'm really high on the Eagles this year. I'm not an Eagles fan. I really like Jalen Hurts' progression and having that dominant one with his number 2 being Devonta Smith now. I think they just have a lot of weapons on that offense. And a solid defense going. And then Packers beating the Eagles. I thought it was interesting that we both took our number 1 seeds to the playoff, like to the Super Bowl. But it also makes sense because we made our projections and put these teams here for a reason.
Yeah.
And then, I have the Ravens winning that Super Bowl because I think that the Ravens are just a better all-around team. And I think the Ravens missing the playoffs last year was not due to lack of talent, but just weird injuries. I mean, starting the season off and losing your top 2 running backs and like every secondary player that is on your roster, basically. Like,
And I think they got a lot better too.
yeah.
I mean, they lost Hollywood
really
Brown, but that was pretty much it.
I was about to say, I really don't think losing Hollywood Brown is the end of the world. Like, I think he's a really good receiver, but I also think that Bateman is probably a better receiver in that role.
And they're going to be a much better running team.
Yeah, they're going to have J.K. Dobbins back this year, and eventually Gus Edwards will be back, and that's going to be huge for him.
I'd be happy with this. Ravens, Packers, and then somehow Rodgers loses to Lamar Jackson. Jackson versus Rodgers would be just an interesting, a lot of personality in the Super Bowl.
It would be a lot of personality, and I would be very happy to see Rodgers lose another Super Bowl.
I think it'd be funny. Definitely, like, because you're going from basically like pure passer to like new age QB runner. So, anything else you want to bring up for the rest of the podcast?
I am terrified again also on where I have Buffalo doing this year and the Bengals. Those are the 2 teams I'm probably the most terrified of what I have projected for them.
Yeah, I'm not sure what. I'm gonna stop your share.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I have any big fears, but I guess it's who's gonna come out. It's hard to bet against the Broncos after the last 2 years, the franchise QB moving to a new team, winning a Super Bowl, and not having them even in the playoffs is a little scary to me. But I don't know. Russell Wilson just seems a little odd. I guess it's just people making fun of him.
He is an odd person.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
I was going to say, I have my impressions on the trade I made in the Dynasty League. If you would like to weigh in on your thoughts of how that trade played out.
I think I saw Cousins and someone else swap, and then you got the key piece that I thought was really good. Cortland Sutton. Yeah. And Dobbins. Yeah, I felt like, so let me pull, I'm not sure if there's an easier way to pull it up. League. Yeah, this is a little bit better. Let me share my screen. Not sure if you even want to see it, but here we go. We have you with Owen.
If you
traded.
click the view, it gives like that view over on like the right hand in league chat. Like where it says view at the bottom of like the trade area.
Oh, duh.
Yeah. And it shows
All right.
it fairly well there.
Yeah, little pictures there. I guess didn't he? This is an odd trade for him. Doesn't he have Tom Brady on his team?
He does have Tom Brady on his team.
So he traded Kirk Cousins for another really old QB. Just seems a little odd. But I guess he's anticipating potentially a QB change with the league.
His backup QBs are Mac Jones and...
I know Mac Jones, yeah.
And Wilson.
Russell Wilson?
No,
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
Okay.
Sorry. So he has some young QBs that I think is kind of like that's his future at that position. And then basically I gave him AJ Brown, who I mean he's an elite receiver. I think he's better than Sutton in my mind. And he's younger. And he's the clear one on his team, whereas Sutton is not.
Yeah.
And then B. Cole is more of just a balancing piece, but then getting Tyler Algier, who, from what I've heard, is going to be in the mix for the one on that team, like the starting running back for the Falcons, which isn't necessarily a desirable piece, but he's young, and if he gets the role this year and can hold it, then he's got a running back moving forward. And then Christian Watson he's a question mark for this year. I think he's still in the pup right now, but moving forward, he's supposed to be Rodgers' future one.
Yeah, this just feels like he basically got a bunch of future ideas and some hopefuls, and then a more clear, definite, stable wide receiver opposed to Sutton, whereas Sutton's more of a boom or bust. Dobbins, you can kind of say it's kind of difficult post-injury. If he comes back to what he is, he's definitely a great piece, but if he doesn't, it's a little bit of a risk. Herbert's just sort of, I just
wanted another bear
back. Yeah, another bear. And I think the swap, I think that's sort of where you sort of win it. I think the Ryan for Cousins swap, obviously I have the Vikings doing very well this year, so I'm a little bit higher on Cousins than most people.
In my mind, the reason why I went with from my perspective on this trade is, I was taking a slight downgrade with Sutton, but I have hopes for him to actually do something if he can be the one. But I really wanted to improve my quarterback position. So sending him Matt Ryan was me basically evening out the trade so that he still has 4 QBs on his roster, which is just something that's really nice to be able to say that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And me getting an upgrade with Kirk Cousins. And then I wanted to upgraded shot, I guess, with Dobbins, who is young, but he is coming back from a complex ACL. And if he does hit, he's only going to be dominant for 2 or 3 years, whereas his team's not real. To me, whenever I look at Owen's team, it's not going to be competing for a title this year.
Yeah, it's sort of hoping that Atlanta starts to slowly get good, and Tyler Algier will figure out how to pronounce his name if he actually pans out. And then I feel like AJ Brown, the one thing about him is just better receiver in a pass in a run first offense, and I feel we'll see what Denver actually looks like, because they did get the guy from was it Green Bay, which was a run first offense, but it feels like if you're getting Russell Wilson, you might be passing more, so it's just hard to predict what the Broncos are really going to look like, because they have good running backs, but
the scary thing with Sutton to me is the fact that before this was made after Tim Patrick's injury, but you still have Judy there, who is a first round wide receiver. You have KJ Hamler, who was drafted in the 2nd round right behind him. You have Albert O. You have a tight end that you took in the 2nd this year with Greg Dulett, or it might have been the 3rd. And then you have Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. So there's just so many pieces on that offense. Mm-hmm. I just have to hope that Sutton emerges as the one. Yeah.
It's an interesting piece. I think it kind of works out for both teams, and especially if both these rookies sort of pan out, it's a big win for Owen. But I think if Dobbins and Sutton do what I think they're going to do, and Cousins, you'll get a. I mean, it's weird strategy with Dynasty. It's someone trying to win now and someone trying to win later, sort of deal. Yeah. And then maybe, I mean, Owen might want to think about moving Matt Ryan. Might be a good idea. If he's not trying to win right now. Assets going to slowly or quickly diminish.
I mean, there was no other quarterback that I could have given back that would have been.
Yeah, I'm saying if he could just make another trade like in a week or two, you know.
That would be smart. I mean, I think Chris Smart
Brady
is still
or Ryan, one of them.
Go out and get a QB and grabbing Matt Ryan or Brady would be a smart move for him.
And, you know, someone's going to get hurt. Zach Wilson almost tore his ACL the other day. People are going to start dropping. This always happens. There'll be at least one guy that's going to fall before the preseason, which is, you know, unfortunate, but that's sort of just the way it works. All right. I feel like we're good to go here, and we'll see you guys next week for hopefully a mock draft.
Yeah.
All right. Let's